Hey there, sim racers and fellow vehicle and racing enthusiasts. Jason's back, and it's been a long time. I actually uploaded a video some time ago, back in June, and I took it down because I realized it wasn't going to be any good. I talked about going autocrossing, and then I showed zero autocrossing content, and it was like, why did I put this video up? So Yeah, sorry about that. I had intended to take video and it didn't work out for that day. But moving on, we're back and I wanted to do just a quick video to go over this last autocross we had this past weekend. This will probably be a bit of a boring video unless you are yourself an autocrosser or, just maybe in general are trying to find some ways to speed up your driving, whether it's sim racing or real life racing. I'm not using any big equipment or anything here. It's just me with the camera I had, and so I'm just trying to make some comparisons. So that's what we got in front of us here. Let me roll the video one time through, and then we're going to take it slower, and I'm going to do a little bit of analysis of myself. So just to set this up, the video on the top left is from my 5th run. And sorry, part of the foam shroud is covering the camera over there. I didn't realize that. And then the video on the top right is from my last run of the day, which was my fastest run. So there's almost exactly a 2-second difference between these two times. So I just want to show you how much difference this can make. This was a long course, and it was a complex course, which was actually very good for learning and driving close to cones and all of that. So this was a good one, and I think the video will show some things that I need to improve on. But let's roll this video and then we'll take it piece by piece. Alright, done and done. So as you can see, a 102.1 versus a 104.1. Alright, so let's take a look at that piece by piece here. So before we get into that, the 5th run of the day was the first run in the afternoon. So I had a couple hour break. It had rained. It had then dried back out. It had actually gotten kind of warm. And so obviously it was kind of knocking the sleepiness of the afternoon heat and just being tired from the day off, as well as just testing out the grip level again since the morning. So that's my excuse for run 5. However, I honestly felt like my pace was decent in run 5 when I ran it, and then I came across the line and was like, I'm a mile off. I knew that. So I slowly started to get that better, but I was hitting cones, like one cone every run 6, 7 afterwards. So I had it all on run 8, which is the last run of the day, to try to put it together. And fortunately, I put together a decent time. I could have certainly been in the 61s, which would have been commendable, I think, and I'll show you kind of the results afterwards. But it was an okay run anyhow. So just what I wanted to do here was kind of break this down into sectors between the two runs and kind of see how I was faster in run 8 than run 5, and then make some general notes at the end. So I got a spreadsheet over here because I love spreadsheets. I'm going to put some times in, and it's going to calculate some differences that we can use to do a bit of analysis on this. So, all right, we're going to roll this piece by piece. The first thing you can see, just barely, is that the start on run 8 was just better. So I got a better jump off the line run 8, and really made it to the start line even a little faster. So I was starting in second gear, and I think I may go back to starting in first gear, but either way I've got to make sure I'm getting a good enough jump. We're going to use the cones as kind of stopping points, and so I'm going to use the cones like here. So I'm at, about 4.5 seconds to the front wheel on this cone, and you can see how very close I am to this cone here, which is good because I didn't hit it, but there were many times where I did. So, but you can see 4.5 seconds here and about 4.6, so not quite a tenth up already, but you can see I'm a little bit further away from the cone there. Not bad. I actually cut it pretty close later. So let's stop. Let's see here, about 6.9. We're a little bit behind. So I carried a little more speed in on run 8 just overall there. That's understandable. It's nothing too crazy. This portion tightened up significantly, and I hit the angle better here, run 8 than run 5. Run 5, you can see I entered a little bit too shallow and kind of cut myself off where I was going to hit the cone there. You see I had to open the wheel up a bit, and whereas run 8 I was much more just able to hold a solid turn angle to get all the way around and then be able to straighten up quickly and get on the gas. So you can see run 8 how I'm past the cone run 8 and I've got less turn angle in already. So just basically being able to position the car a bit better. Could have been a bit closer to that cone though, so that's definitely a thing there, because if I would have been a little closer to that cone, it widens this next right-hander quite a bit. So you can see there, run 5, how much later it took me to straighten the wheel. So it was a really bad line, which sets up losing time for the next couple corners. So now this big long left-hander, which circles back around on itself from the beginning of the course, was really tricky because it was slick but fast. So I wanted to go out wide here, and I did that well here, but a few times I just lost the rear end pretty bad in this spot. So you wanted to kind of go out wide because it tightens up significantly. We're almost coming up on the first sector, by the way, which I've kind of denoted the first sectors myself. Now here, at this point, I'm really turned in a little too much, maybe. Even on run 8, I'm a little bit too close to that cone. I would have liked to have been a little bit further out, because I could have taken a better angle to that far cone out there, and actually, this cone out here, and actually had a better exit, I think. But as it was, the car came into the corner okay. You can see the rear end started to rotate a bit because I had too much steering angle in, so I had to now add more again. Certainly lost some time there. Now you'll see on run 5, well here on run 8, I actually hit the cone okay, but again I had to add steering angle, which was kind of bad. Run 5, you can see I'm actually too close to that cone, and I actually have to straighten the wheel up. I think I may already have done that. No, here it comes. So I have to straighten the wheel up right here significantly because I was about to hit the cone. So that just totally ruins my angle into that next slalom. So big mistake there. All right, we're coming up on the first, what I'm calling sector, which is going to be on run 8. You see the 3 cones laying down in that one. That's going to be it. So we're going to put that on the front tire approximately there, 22 seconds. So we're going to come over here in sector 1. We're at 22 seconds there, and you can see that we're a little ways off on run 5 already, and for all the reasons that we've talked about. So let's figure out where we're at here. About 22.9. So 9/10 in the first sector. So we got a cumulative time, we got sector times, and then we've got cumulative difference and sector specific difference. So this will be interesting as we go. This portion of the course was very fast, as you could see in the video, and it really all came down to having the angles right, because if you had your angles as shallow as possible, you could stay on the throttle significantly. This portion took some some guts, let's say, or some cojones to keep in the throttle and not back out, not chicken out, especially right here. And as you can see, on run 8, I brake pretty heavily right here. Not heavily, but I definitely used the brakes, and I didn't need to as much. It was more just the speed was high. I wanted to make sure I got the corner, and so I really slowed down more than I needed to. I know I left some time there. The other problem or reason I did that was, you see right now, you see right here, you see where my steering wheel's pointed. Okay, I'm pointed off to the ditch. Well, there's a pretty good ditch. There's a big sewer down there, and then a hill going up to the banked. We're at Barber. And if the rear end were to come around right here, okay, if the rear end were to kind of snap, which is possible, and I'm going probably 50 miles an hour right here, maybe a little more, maybe a little less right at the apex here, but going into this, I was going probably 60 or more. If the rear end snaps right here, there is a chance I end up in that ditch over there. And I need to drive this car home at the end of the day. So in one piece, mind you. So I was struggling with getting past that risk because of that reason. And that's just part of real life motorsport, especially grassroots motorsport, where you don't have a budget. You know, this is the car you drive all the time. So you got to kind of keep that in mind. And maybe I should throw caution to the wind a little more. The rear end was completely stable through there, by the way. This is also with traction control off, so you know that's another thing, is I didn't have the computer there to save me. I had taken it off, which is really the best way to do it, but you don't have it to save you if you mess up. So all right, now we're in the longer portion with more corners. This corner was pretty straightforward, and it leads into a tight right-hander, so you kind of had to take it slower than normal. The biggest thing is I should have been closer to these cones. You see how much space there is here on run 8, and I could have been closer. Or if I'm going to stay out wide here, I should have cut much closer to the cone, the last cone, to try to widen up this next corner as much as possible. And I kind of do that, you can see, but I could have stayed a little more over, or could have been farther to the left. So that was a bit of a mistake. You can see there I kind of try to set myself up for it. This corner was probably the tightest, other than the hairpin. This corner might have been the tightest. Took a whole lot of steering angle. This C5 has a really slow steering rack and a big steering wheel since it's old, and man, you got to manhandle it. My hands hurt the next day. I don't even notice, but you see my thumb getting stretched right there. I'm trying to keep my hands at 9 and 3, and I should probably slide. I do sometimes, but I try to keep them at 9 and 3 as much as possible. And yeah, I feel it the next day. So then this is concrete, so it's grippier. Tires make a lot of noise, and this was actually an opening radius corner, and I hit this one okay. I think I overshot this in one of my runs and almost understeered off into those cones. So this was pretty decent, I think, through here. I think my pace was pretty good. I could have probably straightened the wheel up a little bit, but as you can see, there's also a ditch with a bad sewer out past those cones, and I do not want to be in that. So now we got a little like smooth S turn, and we're coming up on sector 2, way behind on run 5, as you can see. We'll see what the times say. You can run up on these curbs a bit. I could have used a hair more curb, but I didn't want to get a penalty on this one, so I was playing just a hair conservative. Pretty good here. I could have gotten in the throttle better. This one thing I wish I had was throttle on the screen, because I think I probably could have gotten in the throttle sooner. That's one thing I remember during the run. Actually could have straightened the car out a little better too. All right, we're going to use some bad paint scratch marks right here for sector 2, which are right there. All right, so we're at 45 seconds. That is a 23-second sector time. Let's see what we get for run 5. 46.4. So we're starting to build this out a bit. So we are a total of 1.4 seconds off, we actually only lost half a second in the second sector, which is pretty surprising considering that what a bad angle I had coming into the straightaway back here. So that's actually pretty good to see. This was the hairpin. I think the hairpin I ran pretty good in both. I think I could maybe brake a little later, but otherwise I think I kept pretty good speed, and as you can see in run 8 I let it drift out pretty good. Was just trying to keep the speed up, let it get out there. Had a little bit of track left, but not much. This was a tricky corner because there's some grass that jets out over here and you're setting up the last corner, but that seemed okay. I probably maybe could have kept a little more speed is the only thing I felt like. And then this corner, as you can see in run 8, this is where I definitely lost a bit of time. I took a little too shallow of a line in maybe, and you'll see the rear end, if you didn't see it in the live video, the rear end comes around right here, and I have to do a pretty good correct. Didn't scrub a whole lot of speed, but you can see how much correction I had to do. That's crazy when you watch it in slow motion like that. So I missed that, that cone significantly and set myself up poorly here. Made this much wider than it needed to be. Probably lost a tenth or two. Look, even had to correct again to get around the cone. So very interesting to see. But yeah, the rear end just came out. Whereas you can see run 5, I'm much more in line with the cone how I wanted to be. That's how I wanted to be, because now it's a straight shot pretty much. And then we run it through to the end with a 102.1 and a 104.1. Okay, so, and you can see overall 2-second difference. Sector times themselves, I was actually the most gained in the first sector. In the last two, it was just a general overall gain. So that's some stuff that I learned. There's a few things that I wanted to kind of put in order, and one is I need to get a faster start to the day. In other words, I'm a little too slow. Let me put these in a notepad for you. So number 1, faster start to the day. That means my initial runs are just too slow. I was at a 66 to start and ended up at a 62. The guys that are quick were able to jump right into 63, 62s. I've got to put a little more aggressiveness into start and kind of feeling out where the grip is and where the speed is. The second thing is I need to get a better start. So I think I'm going to go back to first gear depending on the course, but either way I've got to make sure I get a faster launch, or let's maybe say better launch, because it does affect the entire run. If you get off the line much better, you can save a half second that way if you get a good launch, so that's important. The third thing is to keep up generally more speed. Now that's that's obvious, and so is the fourth one that goes with it. Add more throttle. But these two are a little more nuanced. So the point is, when you watch these two videos next to each other, you can see that generally, looking at the numbers over here, there wasn't a peak, there wasn't anything spectacular between one sector or the other. I just had generally more speed all the way throughout. And that's what I mean here. So in other words, it is finding ways to better hit apexes and better take corners to just keep up generally more speed. And to go with that is adding more throttle. So whereas maybe I was at 25 or 30% throttle, if I can be at 40% throttle, that's going to give me more speed throughout the run. I don't have to go 100% throttle, especially in this car. You got to be a little careful with that. But generally, just being on the throttle a little bit more is going to add speed to my run. And the last thing is get closer to cones. So I got to start optimizing getting as close to the cones as I can, making as straight a lines as I can, as big of radiuses to corners as I can, etc. So those are the things for me to work on. I hope you maybe can take something from this for yourself. If you can video your own runs, if you don't have any kind of tracking system, which obviously those things exist now that'll work for autocross and will actually plot it on a computer and give you all the graphs and that. I don't have one of those. I'm not that serious about it, but certainly there are things I can do to improve, and I'm sure, if you guys are out there and have done it, you've probably got some things. Maybe you saw some things in this video, so let me know if that's the case. But just wanted to get this one out to you as something new and a little different, and hopefully you didn't find it too boring. But maybe I'll bring another one back for the next autocross if I got something interesting that happens. So with that, we will talk again next time. Leave a comment if you got anything about the run or the keeping up speed, getting faster, anything like that. Let me know, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye bye. Just wanted to include the raw time results here from the day. So as you can see here, in fourth place with a 62.121 was my best time. That was run 8, and that's good. Fourth out of 55 competitors, so pretty happy with that. Although, as you can see, looming in front of me were 2 other Corvettes. So in fact, there was only one other Corvette here, and it was an older one that ended up having some issues. So in that sense, a little bit disappointing. But these 2 guys are pros, hence the X here, and they are very good. Nick Lindsay actually competes in nationals, so not the worst. And also, he does have a C6 Z06, so extra 100 horsepower, extra 100 foot-pounds of torque, wider tires, almost the same weight in the same class, which is a little weird. But anyhow, not an excuse, but is an excuse. You know how that goes. Pretty happy with 4th overall in raw time. I think it was 6th place maybe for PAX time. But yeah, I just wanted to show this at the end. So again, we'll catch y'all in the next one.